Hey, welcome replay viewers. I am Allison Crow and welcome. Hi, you guys, as you're joining. I kind of have a bug up my butt. I do a lot of casual scopes, and this is still going to be casual, but I want to talk about behind the scenes as a coach. And so if you are a coach, and it can be a life coach, it can be a health coach, it can be any of you that are doing this kind of business, tap in the a consultant, anything like that. Welcome, you guys. Hey, Danielle. Hey, Gannon. Thanks for inviting. So I kind of want to talk about some of the truth about what is being said and what really happens behind the scenes about building a coaching practice. And so I have been a coach. I've been a professional full-time. This is my business. This is my income, six-figure coach for 10 years. And out of those 10 years, 2 of those years were $79,000, but all the others have been 6 years. And the first 2, I'm not a coach, but I think it would be the most amazing job. Well, this is good for you to listen to because I think, everybody and their dog is a freaking life coach these days. And that's okay. The world needs more life coaches. And there's a couple of really things. If you really want this to not be a part-time gig, if you really want this to, let me turn that around so like, what do you put in front? I can't wait till they turn that around. And so yes, share this with your followers, especially if you have coaches on your list. There's a couple of people on here that know me, they know the way I work. And I just want to share some good stuff about how you can another way that not a lot of people are talking about. A lot of the coaching programs are build this system, follow this model, And if you've ever done one of those programs, follow this system and you'll have your six-figure business. I hate that phrase, six-figure business. And for some reason, it's this benchmark of something. I don't know. Well, what? You made 6 figures, big fucking deal. The IRS still going to take a third of it. But for some reason, we level that as our success. And so I want to talk about kind of some of the reality and how that's done. And I have, because of the way I've been doing this and because I've been doing it for a long time, I've seen a lot of what doesn't work and what does work. So I'm curious, what did you do before you became a coach? Thank you, Alyssa, for asking. So I actually wanted to be a wife and a mom when I was in college. So for those of you that have young kids, I wanted to be a wife and a mom and have 10 kids. I wanted 5 of my own and 5 adopted. I did not do that. I ended up graduating. I had a master's degree in educational psychology. I was going to be a therapist and a counselor. I did not get into a PhD program, and I ended up taking a teaching job. I was a kindergarten teacher for 2 years, and then I was the technology coordinator for a small Catholic school for another 2 years. The last year of that teaching gig, I loved houses. I was always looking online at houses. I loved buying houses, and I had bought a couple, and I was a real estate agent. So I got my real estate license. I did real estate. In 2003, I started selling real estate, and I finished that year doing both the technology coordinator and computer teacher for a school, and then selling real estate. And my first year in real estate, I was not the rookie of the year. I came in second place. But let me tell you about what second place did for me. It's so funny because maybe I should write that a book, should write that down. Like, second place is fucking badass. So the guy that got first place worked 90 hours a week. I was going through a divorce. I had another full-time job, and I played my ass off. I had fun. And so he sold in volume 30,000 more in real estate than me, but he had to do so much more. And so I've really built a life, and what I help my clients do is try to figure out a way to increase income and build a life that you love, that feels good inside. And so because I did so well early in real estate, because I had so much fun, I was tapped after my second year in real estate to be a real estate coach. So for 4 years, the first 2 years I coached real estate. Yes, I want to love my life. That is one of the best goals. And that's actually how we love our life, as we begin to love it, and then we create the business. The business doesn't create the love. And so I taught hardcore sales coaching for 2 years. And that's kind of where I learned like the fundamentals of coaching. So it was like my coaching boot camp. I had 74 clients. I was working nonstop, doing coaching session after coaching session after coaching session. So I will tell you, new coaches or coaches, one of the best ways you can increase your chance of having income is coach your ass off. Coach, 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 coach. Don't sitting around waiting for clients. If that means you've got to do free sessions all damn day long, do sessions all day long. And I think about it, the way I was paid was a little differently than I get paid now. When I was in real estate, I got paid a commission if they closed a deal. But with 74 clients, maybe 30 of those were closing deals. And so I did do a lot of quote free coaching if you really break it down, but I got so much experience because I was coaching from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night with maybe a little bit of a lunch break, or I was coaching on the weekends, those kind of things. So number one, coach, coach, coach. That's how you build your skills, is you do coaching sessions, you do coaching sessions. So then I started coaching coaches, right? I did so well at doing that, I started coaching coaches. So I did that in the real estate world for 4 years, and then I left and started my own. I went from 47 clients where I was coaching coaches down to 1. And I started again from scratch, 0, 1. And those were the 2 years that were under 6 figures. Was the very first year as a real estate coach, and the very first year on my own was around $74,000. It's interesting how they both were about the same. And then all the years after that have been 6-figure years. They certainly could be more, and I maybe work 2 to 3 hours a day. So I never have, every once in a while, 3 coaching sessions, mostly 2 coaching sessions a day. And I am able to get pretty yummy fees for my clients, like fees that feel good for both of us. And so one of the things I see out there that drives me nuts is how many people are focusing on their website and focusing on their list. And I did that for a while. I followed the whole online model. But it's interesting because when I left, hi Nina, welcome. So real quick, let me pause. Who on here is a coach or a consultant? So thumbs up or hi or something if you're a coach or a consultant. Would love to hear. And nothing's happening. Nobody's talking. That's okay. Okay, Danielle's a consultant. Gannon's a coach. And of course, y'all are the 2 that I know. What you do. And maybe there's some live viewers. Kristen, K-Ro joined. Awesome. Hi, K-Ro. Welcome. So one of the things I notice is, even as a seasoned coach, of course, like we need this constant stream of clients because depending on how long you work with them and the income, goes up and down and up and down. But an interesting thing about the way I do it, which is not the way to do it, it is just a way of doing it. So when I left that old company, that whole company was a lot of my pool of people to work with. So I worked with coaches from that company and I worked with agents from that company, and they weren't handed to me. I still had to go out and get them. We called it lead generation at the time. I don't call it that anymore. And we still had to go out and get them. But so then I didn't have that little pool, right? I didn't have that little pool. And it was interesting because when I left, one of my bosses said, why would you leave a pool of 95,000 people when you have them at your front door to go, and why would you leave? And I said, because I don't need 95,000, I need 7. And that was the number. I was like, if I could just get 7 clients at $1,000 a month at the time, I was like, that's all I need. I don't need 95,000. And so that's another tip, kind of as I'm thinking about it, is it's 1 client at a time. When we start to think about 1 client at a time, serving 1 client at a time, well, how do we do that? And how do we attract or create those clients? And I definitely believe in a combo of attracting and creating. I hate to knock on people's door and be like, hey, do you want to coach? Do you want to coach with me? That's not my style. There are some people, hey, can I serve you? I'd like to offer you a powerful coaching session. And I don't do that. But one of the things that I do is, so interestingly, most all of my clients come from Facebook. And people think that is crazy, that all my clients come from Facebook. And every single client eventually that, I think I have one gal that I met on Facebook. So she actually did come through Facebook. The gal that came through Facebook referred her mother. And the gal is my client, her mother was my client, but ultimately still the connection, like, you know, it's like 7 separations from Kevin Bacon or whatever. So all my steps ultimately lead back to Facebook, which I think is fascinating. And if Facebook didn't create the relationship, Facebook maintained the relationship that was created before Facebook came about. So I personally have been able to create and sustain a 6+ figure business by being me. And I do that. I have a couple little phrases. One I am using that Austin Kleon has, that book called Show Your Work. And I call my method share your heart, show your work. So you might want to write that down. Share my heart, show my work. And it's interesting because I see a lot of coaches out there. I actually work with a handful of coaches who are frustrated because they don't really have business. They're wondering where to get clients, but they're being secret agents, is what I call it. And I learned this actually in real estate, which I think is fabulous. So if you want to be a coach, go be a realtor for 5 years. You'll get all the skills you need for coaching. And then in coaching, you can have a much different, I don't know, I like it better than selling real estate. Not so many assholes. So we called it in real estate, don't be a secret agent, right? Like if nobody knows that you're selling houses. So whatever it is that you do, if you bake cupcakes for a living and nobody knows that you bake cupcakes, they can't buy your cupcakes. If you are a consultant, if you're a tax attorney, if you're a massage therapist, if you're a life coach or an artist or a medium or whatever it is you do, if you cannot be a secret. So right now it says there's 15 people. I don't know if there's 15 people. I know that Gannon has said that she is a life coach, and I know Danielle has said that she is a consultant. So we're going to practice right now. And I would love for you in the comments to say, I am blank. So don't let it be a secret anymore. Say what you are and declare, I am, right? I am a life coach. I am a masseuse. I am a teacher. I am a stay-at-home mom. Whatever it is, declare that. Like, step out of the shadows. And I have a video on my YouTube account. I'll tell this story again, but it's my most popular video. I was finished with a coaching call. I have no makeup on. My hair's in a wad. I look like crap. But I just had this huge aha that I had to share. And it was this story of when I was in college. I moved back home for my last year of college, and I was living at home, and it was a Friday night. I am an angel communicator. Okay, so I'm going to pause. Thank you. I love that. I am in between. Jill is in between. What else are your I ams? What is it that you do? I love it. Thank you for owning your in-betweenness. Right? So many people are quiet and we don't know what they do. I'm a grandma. Awesome. I consult coaches on their branding, design, and content marketing. Awesome. Right? Like just saying these things out loud. I think so often we're so afraid of being schmarmy and salesy. I am a small business nonprofit consultant. Awesome. I am a hairstylist, makeup artist. Maybe you can give me some tips about how to hide this. Right? Don't you think it's not that we're defined by what we do, but a lot of times you can meet somebody and then all of a sudden, I do makeup and hair tip videos on here. I'm an artist and a photographer. Kristen Rodner is the one who took the photos on my website. She's awesome. I'm an intuitive life coach and a midwife of the spirit. Helping birth that. Love it. Transitioning from social work, Nita. Awesome. I have a couple clients that are doing that right now. Oh my gosh, they're in social work in LA and it is kicking their ass, and they're both transitioning. I'm a psychotherapist, author, and soul mentor. Yummy. Yes, it is hard. Oh, I feel for you guys, right? So like just letting people know what you want to do. I am an artist. That was a hard one for me. Like I am an artist also. Welcome, Magdiel VBA. So that's the first one, coming out of the shadows. And the story behind that quickly is that I was a senior in college, and I was crying in my bedroom, the room I grew up in. It was a Friday night, and I was feeling sorry for myself. Boo! Nobody loves me. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have any friends. You love that one. I forgot I'm an artist too. Yes, I'm an artist. We've got to declare. And so my mom comes in to the room. It's like, why are you crying? And my mother's so sweet. She doesn't have a foul mouth. I have kind of a foul mouth. I did not get that from my sweet mother, but my mother got kind of snarky with me in a good way. She very rarely does that. But she's like, well, what do you think? Do you think somebody gonna roll down Bowman Avenue in Austin, Texas and see the light on a Friday night at 8 o'clock and see the light on and say, stop the car? There's probably a really neat girl in there that I want to be friends with or be girlfriends with. Still practicing saying I'm an artist. Perfect. And so it's just so funny because my mom, like with her little sarcastic joke of saying, well, what do you think they're going to do? Just drive down the road and stop and say, I bet there's a gal. See that light on in that window? And sometimes we're shining our light from the window in our room and we're wondering why nobody notices it. And when we share our hearts and we show our work, it doesn't mean that we have to broadcast or that we have to, run around saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. I mean, there's nothing more annoying than somebody that runs up and sticks their business card in your face. So that's not what I'm talking about. But how do we, hello again, my Dutton friend. So how do we grow our business? So doing that, shining my light from my little room. Yes. Okay. So MB Celeste, here's the thing. Nobody is going to drive down your street and see the light on your room and stop the car and get out of the car and come knock on a door that they don't know. Now, I get the desire to have a business where people come to you. And after 10 years, I've started. Hi, Di. Welcome. She's in New Zealand. We're catching. So when you're sitting in your room with that little light on, unless you've been doing it for years and you have tons of people and you have the history, at some point it might be doable. Someone like Wayne Dyer puts up, ooh, I want to do this. Then yeah, he's built a following, but he's built it. And so that means you have to share your heart and start showing your work, which means not telling everybody about what you do, but how can you, in a natural way, share the work that you do, right? So, like I said, I have gotten all of my love to your mom for that great thought. It's so true, right? I was like, oh my God, no, I'm not going to find a guy from sitting in that room. And I'm certainly not going to, at the time, it was just, I really just wanted friends. I was, 21 years old. Show, don't tell. Oh, Danielle, thank you. Show, don't tell. So one of the things about this social media, and for me, my primary social media is Facebook, is that I can show the work that I do. So whether I show my art or whether I talk about insight, like type, right? I write a story about the insights that I shared. I don't say, I'm so great, work with me. Because why don't I say that? Because it's fucking annoying. It's really annoying. It's gross. But what we can do is we can talk about how we help clients. So I had a client this morning. We can tell stories. Stories are a great thing to do. So I'll tell you a story this morning. I actually am starting to go back to the gym, which is my weak area. So I'm starting to go back to the gym, and I was on Facebook, and one of my clients messaged me. She lives in Portugal, and she messaged me. And so we're talking, and she asked me a question about, in Portugal right now, it's holiday season. And we had talked about this idea of planting seeds in business, where we're planting seeds and sometimes it takes a while to harvest them. And she said, well, what about you? She said, you created a couple of clients last week and it's vacation time for you too. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I talked about that. I had asked her, don't think about creating a client. I said, who can you love on today? Who can you go help? Who can you make feel special? Who can you support? Right? Just go out there, and everybody out there is wanting to feel important. Who can you go love on and help? And so whether it's that you do somebody on Facebook or whether you go out into the world, if you want to just say, you know what, I have a really light calendar this week. I'd like to offer some coaching sessions just because I love to coach. And so then she asked me back, she said, well, she was asking me about this idea of having an ideal client and a client filter. And I have a whole nother Periscope I could do about what, thanks, Di. This is really good. This really changed my coaching business. This whole idea that we have to have this ideal client. And so she was asking me about the ideal client. And I know some people that they really are concerned with who they want to coach. And I personally don't like have this client list that, I think so-and-so needs coaching and I want to coach her. I work from a little bit of a different place. And, right, like if you're alive and we have a soul contract and all the little pieces begin to fit together, but it's not like I have this avatar that I'm going after. And so she was kind of mixed up about that because there are some people that still teach it. And so she says, well, if I go out and serve, how do I filter for my ideal client? And I said, oh, no. And I'm texting, I'm sweating my ass off on this recumbent bike, trying to get through my 30 minutes. It's only my third day back at the gym. And I said, no, sweetheart, you're missing the boat. You don't filter for your clients until you're in the conversation stage. I do hear not one person that sits and is the ideal client. Exactly. Right? And so the idea of it's not that I'm going to wait to love on my clients or love on humanity or give my gift to the world when I have a paying client. It's that I'm going to be me. And me is somebody who tries to be helpful, who tries to be funny, who tries to love on people. I try to create. I like to save dogs. I like to laugh with my husband. Like, I'm just a human being. And most of my clients, so like, Alyssa, I'm going to give them the ideal hairstyle. Yes. Right? And every person that comes first gets that experience of being your client. And then they decide whether they're going to come back, right? You decide together whether you want to keep cutting their hair, right? Because if somebody's a butthole to you, you're going to say, oh, sorry, I'm all booked. I'm not taking any more clients, right? Even like you don't want a jerk client and they want somebody that cuts their hair well. So the same thing happens in coaching. When we take anybody and everybody, we end up hating coaching. And so, but we can serve and love on anybody. We can, have a conversation and help somebody solve a problem or help somebody see their insight. And so I told this girl, I said, no, switch it around. I said, you serve and then filter for insight. And she was so cute. She was like, oh my God, like it hit her because she was going out, who can I help? But she wasn't really thinking, who can I help? Actually, she was thinking, who can I get to be my client? Like she was hunting. And one of my coaches, his name is Rich Lippin. He wrote the book, The Prosperous Coach, and he has this phrase that needy is creepy, right? So can you imagine, Alyssa, if you ran around with your pair of scissors? Who can I cut your hair? These are not my hair cutting scissors. You can probably see that I need a little work done here or something with this craziness. It's hard to find somebody who knows how to deal with curls. But, can you imagine Alyssa, who's a stylist, running around and she's got her scissors with her in public, going and saying, I want to cut your hair. I want to cut your hair. Do you need help? You need help with your hair. I want to cut your hair. Okay, that kind of being as a coach bothers me, and it happens all the time. Thank you. So the idea is, how can you be you in a way that's not up in that little room? How can you be you and be visible? And so sharing stories, write that down, sharing stories. So you can share client stories. I got this one from my coach too. I got to give him credit. I learned it at one of his things. It was like a major aha. Share client stories. Share stories about your coach and your insights. And then share, what the hair, needy is creepy, running around with the scissors. You have to thank Alyssa for that. Stylist with scissors. But it's so true, right? So if my client is going to run out and she's going to go today with the idea, and it was so interesting because when we first started working, she was so fixated on getting clients. And getting clients, on one hand, it's the focus, but if it's this focused, it's not going to work. And so we started focusing on who she be. And this was so cute. And I say cute because I've done it, right? Like I've been desperate for clients or needed clients. And I remember one of the first things I did when I went from 47 clients to 0 and I left, and I left this big company, and running with scissors is dangerous. Don't do it. Perfect, Danielle. But one of the first things I did, I was like, you know what? I love coaching. How can I coach even when I have no clients? Or at the time I only had one client. I love it. The scissors. You guys are never that. So funny. Oh my God. I'm so thankful for Alyssa and her other industry, because it is like when you're in the same industry and you're having the same conversations, you forget these things. And so, oh God, where was I? Oh, one of the first things I did was I created something so that I was coaching every Monday morning. I created something that was very easy for anybody to be a part of. Was it full of my ideal clients? I don't know. I just wanted to show up on Monday mornings and have a coaching session. And that meant if I gave it away, I gave it away. And so another concept is make it easy for people to work with you, especially if your roster is empty. If your roster, yes, the quality of the work, right? So if your roster is empty, make it easy for people to work with you. Well, so first, be who you are. Be who you are out loud. Let them see you. Right? So Alyssa, this is funny. Alyssa, just from your picture, I can tell you have a cute haircut, right? And so it's who you be. And it's not that you have to be perfect, but when I go and get my hair done and my stylist has cute hair, it makes me feel good. Even if she didn't cut it herself, she has a value of cute hair, of a good haircut, right? Like there's something in that. And so part of who we be, see, look at her. You can see on her face, she's adorable, right? I'd get my hair cut by that. Even if I hadn't had, I'd give it an experience. And so when we begin to be us, whether you do it in person, I personally prefer to do it online just because I can connect with and interact with and talk to and make other people feel important. I can share my stuff, or I can go pay attention to what other people are sharing. So that's the other thing too. A lot of times on social media, we're only paying attention to what we're sharing and we're not reciprocating. There's this law of reciprocation. And I don't mean that tit for tat, but I just mean, genuinely people that you find interesting, comment on their stuff, share their stuff, like their stuff. Only if you're interested. If you're not, don't fake it, because faking it doesn't work it. But be who you are. I don't know how to, I don't know how to really describe it. I'm working on it. I'm creating an online class to kind of go into the content of Share Your Heart and Show Your Work, and how you can get discovered by the people that you want to work with and who want to work with you. And so the more you put out there, I had another conversation with a client today. She was like, well, what about criticism? How do you deal with criticism? Anybody out there nervous about criticism? About, got that light up in that little room, but how do we take it? If I take it out into public, then people won't like me. Yeah. Well, let me tell you, I will tell you the truth. You put your stuff out online and there will be somebody who it triggers. There will be somebody who doesn't like it. And so I'm just telling you that now because it's okay. It's okay for them not to like you. The thing I came up with today I thought was so fun. I was like, ooh, this was a little ding from Spirit. Was like, how do you know that you pissing somebody off or triggering them isn't the best gift that they could have ever received from Spirit? Right? Because them not liking you is their business, or them being triggered by what you say is their business. It's not our business. Our business is just to share our heart and show our work. And so obviously there's no intention of doing harm. It's not like I'm going to get online and say Danielle Baird's a motherfucker, because that's rude and mean, right? But I can't control how people who see my stuff is. And I'm sure I've had plenty of unfollowers or unlikers or people who hide my stuff. But what's so beautiful is for every one or two people that doesn't like or wants to criticize, yes, what people think of me is none of my business. What people think of you is none of your business. But what's perfect is, so the thing is, when we think it's our business, we tend to mute out who we are, and we don't share our heart and show our work. We don't share our whole heart and we don't share our whole work. So we mute ourselves. We make ourselves less visible. When we think we have to be perfect, we make ourselves less visible, and then we can't be seen. What's that this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. I mean, like the first song that we learned in Jesus school was This Little Light of Mine, right? Learned that as like a 3 or 4 year old. And so how do you let your light shine, right? We're not gonna hide it under a bushel, and it's okay. One of the most loving people I've ever met has very, very strong Mormon religious beliefs. And most of the people that are in this community of people that know him, or at least the one that I'm involved with, he has multiple communities, but most of us are not Mormon. Let me write that down, that question, types of stories, and I'll tell you. Let me finish this story about this guy named Steve. So Steve Hardison is a coach, and he is Mormon. You know how much Steve Hardison charges to work with? $150,000 paid up front, and you have to fly out to his house. Is it every 2 weeks, or I can't remember. You have to fly out to his house for face-to-face coaching sessions. And he's not at a loss for clients. $150,000 a year paid up in front. I know, it's crazy. Now here's the thing. This guy is there's something about him. I mean, he's a human being. He is an intense man, but he's a very loving human being. And what I love about him, it's not that he has all this knowledge that we don't have. It's not that he's providing, yes. It's not that he's providing this super service that nobody else can provide, but he's very nice and he's very calmly confident in who he is. And he can allow someone to sit across the room from him and have their beliefs, and it doesn't change his, and he doesn't judge them, and he doesn't let their thoughts or opinions move him, right? So to me, one of the things I respect about him is that he lives that what other people think about me is none of my business, and he does it without saying the F word. He's got he's just very loving. He is intense. It's a little intimidating, right? But he's an awesome guy, and he's out there doing good in the world. So, but what I'm saying is that when we can begin to trust, it is an essential skill in the Bible Belt, but here's what's interesting. Yes, right? Like, so it's easy when we're around a bunch of people that believe us and like us, but when we are sharing something different, or we feel like we're sharing something vulnerable, then I get it. It's scary. I don't like criticism. I do not like it. It hurts. And one of the things we can do is go out there and be out in the world. And so there was another guy that I heard speaking. I love this. This guy is another one. He's got some super freaky deaky beliefs, but he is also super essence of love. And it's so funny because, like, on one hand, there's Steve Hardison, and Steve Hardison is like he's very much the essence of love and kindness and goodness. And he follows his religious beliefs in a very modeled, kind, and loving way. And then there's this other guy, Steve Pavlina, which has all kinds of alternative beliefs, especially he's polyamorous, and he's got very, very strong vegan, but he's also very much the essence of love. It's just very different from a lot of the religions that I grew up with. But Steve Pavlina has this one saying that I heard one time, and he said, be either a 10 or a 1. Don't be a 5, right? A 5 is just like, blah, right? And so many of us are going out there and we're trying to be a 5 so that we don't piss anybody off, or so that we don't hurt somebody. And if we would just breathe and be ourselves, then more people, we take off some of those masks and some of those filters, then people can see who we really are. And then when we remove those layers, it's going to turn off some people, right? My mouth, I know I'm not real proud, and yet it's just part of my sassafras is my foul mouth. And I've had a client that told me specifically, I hired you because you had the F word on your homepage. So I know that being you pays off. Good. Well, and good. Here's what I can say: good riddance, Jill, or I can say, you know what? There's someone for everybody. Right? There's someone for everybody. And so for the person that I had this guy that's asked me to come speak for his group the last couple of years. And it was an interesting experience. It's not a paid experience. It's a volunteer experience. And I've been watching, and I know his tribe, and his tribe is pretty clean cut. They do great work, but they're very clean cut. And so he asked me to come again this year. This year, I was possibly willing to consider it, but I sent him a video where I took off all my clothes, except for I didn't get naked, but I got down to my bra and panties because I wanted him to see an example of me speaking live. And in that talk, I did say fuck a couple times. So I sent it to him and I said, I want you to watch this before we decide if we're a fit together. And he said, oh, I love the way you speak, but I'll, it's probably best if you, hold it on the F-bombs. And I said, well, that's a deal breaker for me. It's not that I have to cuss, and I choose not to be unfiltered. I don't want to be filtered. And so for me, I don't want to be filtered. And it was funny because somebody said, well, do your kids cuss? And I was like, well, actually they do. And I don't mind it. You don't get in trouble for cussing in my house. And so it was a filter. Like, it was like, okay, that's a deal breaker, because what good am I going to do if I'm not being me? Now, cussing is not the essence of me, but it just comes out of my mouth. And if I'm worrying about having to filter myself to look good for everybody in the audience versus being me and delivering my message, then the message is going to get diluted, right? And so Di asked the question, what types of stories, right? So I tell a lot of stories, you see by example. So telling stories of if you think about the insights, where do your insights come from? And what is the story? What did you learn from that? So I've told you Steve Hardison's stories. And even though he wasn't technically my coach, he was my coach's coach. And he is a mentor in my community, somebody I look up to. I've told you stories from my coach and some things that my coach has taught me. I've told stories about my clients, and I've told stories about myself. So I just, by example, if you go back and look at the scope and you really break it down, you're going to see the three or four types of stories. So stories about how you came to your insights and what you're learning and what you're going through. Stories about your coaches and your leaders, what you've learned from them, and stories about your clients. Obviously, when you tell stories about your clients, and everybody has different levels of, so Danielle was on here. Danielle Baird is one of my clients, and my clients know that I'm very visible on Facebook. It is not a requirement. I have one client that she doesn't want a soul to know she's working with me. But Danielle Baird, who is on here, she's a consultant and a blogger and an artist. And Danielle has given me permission in writing that says, if you ever have anything to share that you think will contribute, like this story right now, right? Like I'm telling a story about my client, Danielle, that said, if you ever have anything to contribute that has to do with my coaching, you have permission to share. Right, Danielle? I still have that permission. And I don't run around gossiping about Danielle's coaching, but she and Matt Watkins is another client of mine who've like, you know what, coach, share it all, right? Like, I have nothing to hide. And then I have the other end. So I do pay attention to my clients and what level of confidentiality, but a lot of my clients like being talked about in public. They like hearing stories about themselves from stage. They like me bragging about them. And so by sharing those stories, so let me ask you this. If my learnings can help someone else, I'm all for it. So here's what I'm curious. I've told a handful of stories. What have you learned from the stories I told today? So did you get an insight? And really an insight is a short phrase, right? It's like the aha, the aha. So what insights have you picked up from the stories that I'm telling you today? Especially you, Di. You asked about the stories. What insights did you pick up from what I'm sharing today? There's Shannon. So as we're waiting for those responses, like if you got any stories, if you've got any insights, right? And so often we're told, buy my program, sign up with me, buy my program, sign up with me. And don't you just want to go, la, 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 I can't hear you. I can't hear you, right? But by sharing stories, you learn to share stories. Think, how can I be me out in the world a little bit more? How can I share? Maybe you don't share what you do, but you share a story. Be yourself, love on people, and be true. Yes, and you know more about me, right? And especially when you're coaches, most of the time, there's a few personality traits that will read something on a website and think I'm in. As a coach, I push back. I'm like, whoa, we're about to crawl in bed together. Sharing stories is simpler than I was making it. total turn off when people go into immediate sell mode. Gannon, do you know I never have to sell. I never have to sell. By opening this very large mouth, look how big my mouth is. And by being a total dork, I never have to sell. Sometimes I share my offerings, like I've shared on, I've shared about my painting retreat. When I have a big circle, I'll share about it, but I'm never selling from that place. I'm only inviting somebody to check it out. And the only reason anybody clicks and checks it out is because they've seen the other stuff. Now, I am absolutely sure that there is a total other, I do tell stories, was just checking we were thinking about the same thing. Yes. Perfect. Yes. Right? And it's the insights that come up from that. It creates people that, you know, I have a client today, she was so sweet. She talked to me and she said, you know, I've been watching you on Facebook for a long time and I'm so excited to be starting this work with you. And what has she seen on Facebook? The best way I know, I had somebody ask me, how do you do that on Facebook? And the short answer is I share my heart and I show my work. I also share my personal life. I don't have little kids. My kids are in college. I have dogs, my personal life. I share my lifestyle, which is normal. I share my ups. I share my downs. I've shared that I struggle with depression. I haven't had anxiety so much. I have major ebbs and flows. I share my art. I share when I'm pissed off. And I share my joy and my happiness and my good juju too. But I just share my heart. And the colleague that asked me is like, how do you do that? And I said, here's my challenge for you is to go to my Facebook page and spend an hour and a half even, and I know that's a long time, go back and look through every single post on my personal Facebook page. And what do you learn about how I be? Now, I'm not telling him to go be me, but what did he pull from the way I am on social media that he could answer his own question? How do I be? And so at Danielle Baird, who's on this, Danielle Baird has been doing this the last couple of months. And it has been so fun because she used to be a behind the scenes consultant and now she's in front of the room consultant. And it's been so fun to watch her share her work. Gannon, I know, is starting to share her work and share her heart and show their work. And so by doing that, you give people a feel of who you are personally so that they can like and trust you and who you are professionally. Now, obviously, this is for, I mean, I do believe that like building your list is important, but that's not the number one priority for me. When people know, like, and trust me, not only will they possibly engage with me to pay for my services, but they'll probably join my list or connect with me on Facebook, right? And so if you're selling something from, I don't want to, you know, like this, I hid the title, right? But it's like this ad, and I bought it, or I didn't buy it, right? Find your scope topic workbook. I actually think this guy is great, right? And he sells stuff from an ad, and there are lots of coaches that do that. And I think it's a great way if you want to build a massive business. And today's post on my blog was 50 things to know about me, relationship building. Perfect. I think that's important. People do want to know. I can't tell you how many times somebody has gone and read every blog post I've written, and then they show up and write me a $15,000 check. So that's the other thing, is that by the time they get to a phone call with me, social media small talk difficult, but can talk deeply with anyone about deep stuff. So that's the other thing, is talk about deep stuff on social media, and then you can take the conversation offline, right? That's where the conversation starts, but I pull it offline, right? I had a girl once, this was so fun. She typed me, she's a colleague of mine, a fellow artist and a consultant and a business coach, and she just said, can I ask you a quick business question? And I just said, call me. I just was like, let's get this offline. And we ended up having like an hour and a half conversation, and it turned into a little bit of a coaching and consulting session. And she was so cute. Like 2 weeks later, she called back and she was like, oh my God, that changed everything. I wasn't trying to get her as a client. I was just helping her. But she at least came to ask me because she could see from what I was doing that I possibly was able to help. So I love that she had the guts to ask. And it was just a little reframing in what she needed. I have no idea if that gal will become my client. She probably won't. She doesn't need me as a coach. But that's how some of those relationships have gone on to be the clients that pay me $15,000, $20,000 for a year of coaching. And instead of nickel and diming it along the way and constantly having to redo it, is by sharing my whole heart, by sharing my work, by being me, by interacting, communicating genuinely. When I say loving on people, it's not like I'm going out there and patronizing. I can't connect with everybody, but I prefer I have a coaching practice. I don't even call it a business. I have a coaching practice that pays, my gross is anywhere between $150,000 to $180,000. That is more than enough, combined with my husband's pension from being a teacher, to provide a lifestyle that we love. I work a couple hours a day. If I wanted to build it bigger, could I? If I wanted to charge more, could I? Certainly. And that starts to create misery in me. I have clients, my friend Monica wants to, my friend Vanessa, my friend Vanessa has hired coaches that she's building this big, huge building. And to me, that I like having a very healthy, vital coaching practice. A practice where, today my husband and I did, I had a call at 1 today, and I got up. Did I take coaching classes? I did not take formal coaching classes, but I did, this is something I talked about at the very beginning. I did go to we called it Coaching Skills Camp. So I did some informal learning in my real estate company. The best way I learned to coach was not through any classes, but it was by being coached. So I have had and have paid for a coach every single day since 2003, September probably 3rd, 2003. I have paid for and had a coach ever since then. I have had so many different kinds of coaches. So a lot I learned from that. And when I was a brand new coach and in this real estate office, I was like, okay, do you have a job description? And they go, no, you've got to write it. And I was like, well, good thing I hired a real estate coach. And so I just modeled what my real estate coaches did. But I did learn a lot from my teacher taught from the Coaches Training Institute book. I do not have a certification. You know what my certification is? I have hours. I have way more than 15,000 hours, right? And they say it takes 10,000 to be a master coach. I have so many hours. Before I left Keller Williams, I had 10,000. And that's when I actually used to track it. So hours and hours and hours of coaching. And so if that means you keep coaching and keep practicing, to me, that was the best training. I do think there's some great classes out there that you can learn. There's certainly definitely coaching skills. But I never felt like a certification was like, oh, all of a sudden I'm certified. I have friends that have done ICF, and I think ICF, the one thing I have heard about some of the coaching schools that are out there is, unfortunately, they teach a poverty mindset. And I'm very big on an abundance and prosperity mindset. And so they go in telling you, I have people that have gone to get their ICF certification, and their mentor as a coach is telling them what's impossible. And as a coach, it's not my job to tell you what's impossible. And so they were telling coaches that you have to have a book and that you have to have classes and to do all this. And I don't think that's necessarily true. There are a lot of hungry coaches out there. There's a lot of starving coaches out there because of the poverty mindset. And so there's absolutely a way to not be broke as a coach. There's absolutely a way. And yet we've got to be ourselves. I always say the universe pays me for being me. And yeah, do I actively go out to try to create clients? Yes. What does that look like? Well, the first thing I do is I lay my ass in the grass and I meditate and I think about the energies of who they are, and I call them in. And then the second thing I do is I go out and love on people and connect and share my stories. If I'm quiet and hiding up in my little room, wondering why I don't have any clients and focusing on crying why I don't have any clients, I ain't gonna get any clients. But I usually find them when I'm out in the world visibly being me, loving on people, being a part of community. Sometimes when I go, every event I go to, and I don't own a business card anymore. Every event I go to, just listening and talking to people and being me, I end up with 1 or 2 clients. And they're all over $10,000. And then online. So yeah, any questions? There's still a few of you left. Any questions? I know this wasn't like broken down my 3 steps, but really it's about share your heart and show your work. Be visible. Talk about, share your insights. That's a big one. What do you learn from coaching, right? What do you learn about creating clients? Go talk about what you learned on this I was watching a Periscope today. If there's something really there, don't fake it. Let it be real. So any questions? Perfect for you. Good. I'm glad. If you got value, thank you for the hearts. Yeah, if you got value. I just think sometimes they're always telling us, follow this system and you'll get clients. And how many people have put that system in and it doesn't work? Just because you build your list to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, first of all, doesn't mean there's quality in your list. And yeah, maybe they'll buy a $297 package, but will they pay you? Major mind shift for me about how my business started with the poverty mindset. Yeah, Shannon, I've watched you change a lot, right? A prosperity mindset. I remember my husband, good shit, thanks Allison, he would say this is a pipe dream because he didn't get it. He gets it now. And he's like, I don't know how you do it. And he was like, he used to be, you're on Facebook all the time. I am on Facebook all the time. And part of what I'm doing is connecting and I'm just being. It's not like I'm thinking about being on Facebook. I'm just being and connecting. I'm being a social butterfly as an introvert, believe it or not, without having to go out of the house. And then I'm being connected and engaged in other places. And through those relationships, and by the fact that I also have chosen to be badass at what I do work on my skill. I do learn. I do think about things. I do process. I do read. I do get coached. I'm always working on being a better coach. And then the time I've invested in, right? It really does make a difference. It doesn't have to be about following a damn system that doesn't feel authentic to you. It doesn't have to be about buy my shit. Although I did think this was funny. I thought about this class that I'm writing, share your heart, show your work, and sell your shit. Except for it's not selling your shit. We really want to invite people to work with us. We want to offer our services, right? And so thank y'all so much for the love and for the hearts. I always want to tap hearts back. Like I want to tap, 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 tap those hearts back. Okay, so this is a big day for me. I did 2 Periscopes in one day. Holy cow. I'm going to go hang out with my hubby now. But that's the thing. I always said I would Periscope when I was inspired, and I was inspired to do this little coachy scope. If y'all have any questions, you can email me through AllisonCrow.com or Facebook message me. If there's something else you want to know and want to learn, I love talking about what's behind the scenes of building a coaching business. There's so many experts will bullshit to you, and a lot of it really is bullshit. A lot of people are building their businesses coaching coaches. I do coach some coaches, but that's not my business. I just help people. If you're alive, I help you. And so I like to tell the truth as a prosperous coach, some of what it can take to be a prosperous coach. Love you guys. Mwah. See you soon.